My name is Robert Ceballos. I am the museum director at the Hess Collection Winery in Napa, California. And what I'd like to do is show you around our museum today. We have a contemporary art museum here that encompasses work throughout the latter half of the 20th century on into the current century. Mr. Donald Hess began collecting art in 1966. And what we have here is a combination of his two passions under one roof, which is a combination of a winery and an art collection. And people don't often realize that the art collection actually predated the winery. At the Hess Art Collection at the Hess Collection Winery, we have roughly 215 works on display. And we say that that's about a quarter of the collection. I think that we're a little bit low there, but Donald, as I mentioned, is a voracious collector. He's an avid collector. And he's continually adding to the collection, and he wants to share it with the public because he sees it as his job, it's his onus as a collector to get the work out there. And because we do have some works in storage, I think it's a source of concern for him that works don't remain in storage for too long. I don't have a set schedule of exhibitions here, but we do, I would say it's safe to say we rotate work biannually. And often it's me walking through the museum and looking at work, looking where we could put works that we might have in storage here at the facility. I might know, for example, that we have additional Bacons or Basilitzes in storage in Europe. And I'll throw ideas out to Donald, and he sometimes will, he'll review them, and sometimes he'll agree, and other times, often, he decides that he wants to send a work out here. And we'll discuss and figure out where to put it. Donald Hess has several criteria for collecting and being a patron of the arts. I would say the first one is that he wants to collect only from living artists because he wants to know the artists. And he has to feel an incredible sense of attachment to a work that he sees. He speaks about walking away from a work that he's seen somewhere, in a museum or sometimes even in a friend's home. And he says that he has to walk away from it. And if he wakes up in the middle of the night sometimes and he's thinking about the painting, and he says, when I can't get a piece out of my head, I know I have to go back and look at it. And when he goes back to look at a piece, if he's still really impacted by it, then, and only then will he consider buying the work. Another criteria he has is that he collects regardless of how well known the artist is. And he has had a tremendous eye over the years, collecting works from people that have gone on to become quite well known. But he is also very interested in making a collection, assembling a collection that is important in the larger scheme of the art world as well. And for example, we have Robert Rauschenberg on display, Frank Stella, whose painting is shown behind me here, Anselm Kiefer, Robert Motherwell, Andy Goldsworthy, just to name a few. And Francis Bacon is another one. Well, the connection between wine and art is really interesting to me. I began making artwork when I was a teenager, and it was a really natural thing for me. The wine portion of it wasn't natural. I didn't get the idea of drinking these tannic, dry red wines and having to develop a palate and learn to like something. That seemed so odd to me when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. And now that I'm running this museum space and I'm beginning to think about the connection of art and wine, I find the same with art. I see art pieces in museums sometimes that I really need to spend time with. And when I come out on the other side, having spent time and really stretching myself to come to a personal understanding or a personal experience of the object I'm looking at, I've changed when I come out the other side. And I realize now that what I'm doing is I am developing kind of a taste for a particular piece of art. I think our tendency as human beings is to want to put things into nice compartments and make them very understandable. What I like about art is that it makes me step out of it. As I'm standing in front of this series of squares, it makes me step out of that box. And I find that with wine as well, that wine has expanded the way I view my senses. It's expanded the way I experience food, the way I taste things. It's really nice to sit down with a nice glass of wine and spend time with it and begin to understand how the earth has affected the flavor of it and how someone has crafted this item that interacts with your senses. And in the same way that someone has painted or created a dance or a piece of music that alters the way you view yourself and the world.